I had a knot in my stomach when a woman came to the window and told me that her insurance company, on the invoice, explained that they recommended online payments because the United States Postal Service is no longer dependable.
I've always been fascinated by the intricate workings of our postal system. You know, that vast network that connects every corner of our nation, from crowded cities to remote rural areas.
What if we could revolutionize this system, making it more efficient, more responsive to our needs?
And owned by the very people who make it run? That's exactly what Thomas Padlan-Malm proposes in his groundbreaking plan for the United States Postal Service. Imagine a USPS transformed into an employee-owned trust, overseen by legislation and guided by a mission defined by Congress. Picture a Postmaster General elected by the American people, ensuring that the service truly represents the needs of its citizens. Of course, like any major transformation, this plan faces its share of challenges. The transition would be complex, requiring careful planning and execution. There's the question of funding and investment, and the delicate balance between profitability and public service. But with these challenges come incredible opportunities. Increased employee engagement could drive innovation and efficiency. The protection of public interest would be baked into the very structure of the organization. And most exciting of all, this model could breathe new life into communities across America, with post offices potentially expanding their roles as local hubs for various services.
This isn't just a pipe dream. It's a carefully thought-out plan that could reshape one of our nation's oldest and most essential services.
I'm Thomas Padlan-Malm, and as a candidate for the presidency of the American Postal Workers Union, I want to talk a little bit about what Americans might need to think about as the citizen owners of the United States Postal Service.
The Postal Service released the fiscal year 2024 results, claiming they show a reduction of 2023's massive loss by $434 million, while increasing revenue. At the fiscal year 2024 conclusion, the U.S. Postal Service itemized successes demonstrating a significant financial turnaround driven by strategic price increases and growth in shipping and packages. The Postal Service leadership boasted that operating revenue was $79.5 billion for the year, an increase of $1.4 billion, or 1.7%. Within this revenue growth, the clerks of the American Postal Workers Union might note that around the start of the fiscal year 2024, the no-fee penalty label used for the evening deposit was replaced with a click and ship label that produces the dishonest appearance of up to $250 million in new topside revenue. It begs the question of where else there has been topside financial success recorded without any real money to count. Transportation expenses were slashed by $1.3 billion, thanks to ongoing network optimization efforts. Yet delivery performance, especially in communities like Atlanta, where mail delivery fell to 36% on time, reflects a level of non-performance resulting from these cost cuts that brought whack-a-mole expense losses from unanticipated consequences. It is why, despite what Postal Service leadership describes as gains, a net loss of $9.5 billion could be the only outcome. Over 80% of this loss stemmed from factors beyond management's control, such as unfunded retiree pension liabilities. Yet, a strategic mind would wonder why the unfunded retiree pension liabilities were not planned in the pricing. The management of American Mail Delivery released Delivering for America 2.0, Fulfilling the Promise, in September 2024. It was said to highlight achievements and future priorities. This plan revisits the original 10-year transformation strategy, showcasing progress and evolving strategies for financial stability. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy emphasized the importance of pricing and product strategies in boosting revenue and market share. He acknowledged the economic, legislative, and regulatory challenges that still lie ahead. Chief Financial Officer Joseph Corbett highlighted the reduction of work hours for the third consecutive year, saving $2.3 billion annually. He did not connect these savings to poor performance and the unintended expense burden this causes. The Postal Service also saved $1.3 billion in transportation costs in fiscal year 2024. This was not connected to the poor on-time delivery that accelerates volume erosion and increases unplanned revenue shortages. Revenue from shipping and packages increased by $625 million, while first-class mail revenue rose by $830 million. Marketing mail revenue saw a $292 million increase, reflecting the Postal Service's competitive edge. A strategic mind might peel back the public relations posturing and see questions. The Postal Service's messaging is clear. The Postal Board of Governors remains committed to the full implementation of the Delivering for America plan as version 2 unfolds. This plan aims to innovate, grow revenue, and achieve financial sustainability while fulfilling the universal service mission. The financial results underscore the ongoing trend of declining mail volume and increasing package volume. The Postal Service claims its adherence to the plan has resulted in significant cost savings and operational efficiencies. Forward-looking statements suggest a cautious optimism for future operations, despite the inherent risks and uncertainties. Not discussed in the release of 2024 results are the consequences of a plan that, despite reforms in the second year, managed to lose more money every day, on average when compared to the previous 4 years.
If Thomas Padlan-Malm is president of the American Postal Workers Union, he will have a different plan that understands more, because he has been where equity investment bankers fear to go. He will ask Americans to trust the spirit of a newly inspired, employee-owned postal service from which American citizens and stakeholders will benefit most. A win-win, with service focused from the mailbox out, with pricing based on the 2006 Act, with the bad ideas extracted.
The baseline I use for gauging Delivering for America's success is 2019, Padlan-Malm says. He notes that the fiscal year results in 2019 posted $8.8 billion in losses caused entirely by unrealistic pricing restrictions and arbitrary funding requirements imposed by the elected lawmakers in the United States Congress. Padlan-Malm emphasizes, these causes were removed through the April 2022 postal reforms, leaving no blame for future losses on those we elect. In 2024, the American mail delivery system posted a $6.1 billion loss in the first 3 quarters of fiscal 2024, added to the $6.5 billion in losses during fiscal 2023. Delivering for America has delivered $13 billion in losses during years in which break-even financial performance was expected, Padlan-Malm stated. These losses are mystifying when noting that none of the congressionally inflicted impediments managed before 2022 existed during these last 2 years. Beyond financial failure, in 2019, first-class letter mail arrived on time 92% of the time within 3 days in the continental United States. In December 2022, Padlan-Malm informed leadership that the on-time delivery achievement for first-class letters has only approached the 92% baseline score of 2019 through enhancements of delivery results, despite 18% more grace. Padlan-Malm informed them of a metrics enhancement program launched in Philadelphia at the start of the fiscal year 2022. This program ordered letter carriers to bring undelivered letter mail, sale flyers, and periodicals back to the post office when package delivery volume was too great to manage. He wrote them, saying, "When reassigned to South Carolina, I saw the policy was not isolated to the Philadelphia district." Padlan-Malm explained this to Chairperson Roman Martinez and President Biden in letters sent in December 2022. It was not Padlan-Malm's first communication with Postal Service leaders. When the 10-year plan Delivering for America was launched in 2021, a cover letter accompanying Padlan-Malm's alternative approach to planning was sent to Postal Board of Governors Chairperson Ron Bloom. Padlan-Malm cited the dearth of consumer product experience among the Postal Board of Governors. Copies were mailed to key decision-makers from the White House to Capitol Hill and all postal governors and regulators. The website will show that in 2021, the job-defending union member predicted no success for the plan. To Chairperson Bloom, Padlan-Malm wrote, Unfortunately, lessons learned from investment banking, trucking logistics, union advocacy, and contract manufacturing apply to the strategic planning needs of the citizen-owned United States Postal Service with the same value as one's accrued success in the game rock, paper, scissors. The labor union presidential candidate said, "Like the schoolyard game, we can expect the whole of this plan to succeed with similar probability, 34%. In 2022, when Mr. Bloom was replaced as chairperson of the Postal Board of Governors, Padlan-Malm offered Mission Possible, a plan to assure enduring relevance to the United States Postal Service, to the third chairperson to preside over Postmaster General DeJoy's strategy in as many years. He also shared the ideas with President Joe Biden, asking to be appointed to the Postal Board of Governors to help fill this critical planning experience gap among its members. This correspondence is shared on the website www.ifiwearepostmastergeneral.com, including the reply from the Postal Board of Governors on behalf of the chairperson, Roman Martinez. From his earlier career in the private industry, where he wrote strategies that elevated Brother International to be the only consumer typewriter company from among its competitors to thrive 4 decades later, Padlan-Malm shares tactical marketing tools that expand and sustain success. From other experiences as a mail service-dependent vice president of marketing for South Carolina's busiest shipper in the 1990s, and Padlan-Malm's perspective as a postal clerk serving the diminished values of American mail delivery since 2020, the candidate for the presidency of the American Postal Workers Union discusses the overlooked consequences that can come when the wrong questions are asked and core problems are not mitigated. In his words, he explains, "The essence of my plan has been to create better bosses and a think-like-owners mentality. Zip code by zip code, from the mailbox through the workforce, I know that success can only come from being important to Americans. This depends entirely on leaders who understand the needs of the American people and the motivations of the postal workers who serve them daily," Padlan-Malm says. The website, www.ifiwearepostmastergeneral.com, shares what Padlan-Malm would have done differently between 2019 and 2024 if he had been Postmaster General. He said the pinnacle of successful strategy is vision, and his focus is on letter mail delivery and the opportunities being overlooked. His plans focus on not competing for business in an area of free market capitalism that provides tax-producing job growth and revenue for America's needs. His plans recognize a critical difference in beliefs and a fundamental split where our elected government belongs. Padlan-Malm declared himself a candidate for his labor union office to expand his opportunity to address a 4-decade void in proper planning amongst American businesses, and to discuss proper planning from the mistakes most businesses make when creating strategy. An employee-owned mail delivery system can provide a decentralized structure, give opportunities for new and appealing values to emerge, ensure more appropriate hiring and work roles for workforce assignments, and clearer measures for success and failure. We have seen what happens when the disciplines of American business fix our citizen-owned public institutions from the common thinking of the American business culture that came from reading the first chapters of Milton Friedman's ideas and abandoning any idea that nations depend on businesses to meet the wide needs of society, where capitalism is the economic rule.
If I were Postmaster General, I would start, as soon as I was named, I would ask every one of the Postal Board of Governors to meet me here and just walk through a day where you get to see what the job is and what the impact of all the changes that have been made have been. I'd meet with them here and walk through the day and show them how changes and how accountable mail has changed, has affected customers, show them how the plans for handling packages affect things, show them the impact on our commercial carriers, who are the job providers in a capitalist society, show them the impact that we're having on their ability to hire and grow. And as a customer said to me just 2 days ago, "Yeah, boy, I went over to UPS and they tried to rip me off. They almost wanted twice as much as you're asking." Because for a for-profit company, that's what it takes to do the job. We're the Postal Service of the United States government, and our job is to support as infrastructure the success of all the other businesses in America. That's our job, not to compete with them.
Standing on a narrow mountain ridge, knowing one wrong step could be your last, is the proper approach to take as the strategy's execution is monitored. We can unravel the problems inherent in the Postal Service's 10-year plan by examining the true meaning of strategy with Richard Rumelt. Many business leaders confuse strategy with ambition, but strategy is about overcoming obstacles. Richard Rumelt argues that bad strategy has become a social contagion over the past 30 to 40 years. Executives often present their performance goals as strategy, but that's just a set of ambitions. Strategy is problem-solving, not just setting lofty goals for the future. In a typical strategy session, CEOs announce performance goals, but that's not a strategy. The gap between action and ambition is where most bad strategies come from. Richard shares his personal ambitions from when he was 25, highlighting the need to prioritize. The beginning of strategy is deciding which ambitions to focus on today. Bad strategy often uses PowerPoint slides to paint a rosy picture of the future. Yuval Atzman points out that making choices ahead of time is crucial for true strategy. Executives often avoid making hard choices, leading to a list of priorities that violate the term's meaning. Richard recalls a mountain climbing epiphany that made him rethink his choices. When you commit to one path, you must let go of other possibilities, which is often painful. Strategy requires a focus of strength against weakness, not spreading resources thin. Yuval asks how companies should approach long-term strategies in a dynamic world. Richard sees strategy as a journey, adapting to challenges along the way. Companies evolve through their responses to challenges, much like civilizations. Higher volatility makes strategy more about problem-solving and quick decision-making. Spotting discontinuities in trends is crucial for seizing opportunities and addressing challenges. Richard notes that many companies' strategies are banal because they try to do too much at once. Focus on solving important problems that you can actually solve, rather than spreading yourself thin. The crux of a mountain climb is the hardest move, and in business, it's the toughest problem. Successful strategists identify the crux of their problems and focus resources there. Yuval asks about integrating resilience into strategy, and Richard emphasizes its importance. Execution is part of strategy, and organizational functioning is crucial. Not all organizations need the same level of resilience, depending on their market and pace of change. Times of volatility present opportunities for making bold strategic bets. Strategy is not about forecasting the future but dealing with recognizable problems.
If I were Postmaster General, I would, after that, meet all of the members of the Postal Board of Governors
R83
at the post office in the community where they serve their mail. And from their mailbox, the one where they get their mail in their home, from their mailbox, we'll build a strategic business unit from their mailbox out and have them be involved in building the empowering structure, the information sharing, and the strategic plan that focuses on the mailboxes
83
in that 3-digit area, building test programs, pilot programs at each member of the Postal Board of Governors zip code, so that we have a diversity of ideas growing from the source, growing from the place where the best and most accurate information and the consequences of decisions can be measured
R82
by the people who are expected to make this successful.
From the seat of the chairman of the Postal Board of Governors to the White House, through the influencers in Congress, important choices had been made for a decade based on flawed information, obfuscated truths, political opportunism, soundbite manufacturing, distorted views of capitalism, and an absolute and apparent failure of Americans to study, learn, question, quiz, challenge, and eliminate every threat to the Darwinian competition that American commerce demands by electing individuals that care about the people who elect them.
According to an Inspector General report issued the day Postmaster DeJoy was sworn in, Office spent $4 billion in fiscal year 2019 in mail processing and delivery overtime and penalty overtime costs. Those overtime costs represent 45% of the postal system's $8.8 billion loss for last year.
The day I was sworn in, I received a report from the OIG that spoke about the things that you were talking about: late deliveries, late dispatch, extra trips, and all the time and costs associated around this that approximated $4 billion. We were faced.
Now, it's understandable that this would be the impression, but it's people like me, the part-time flexible clerks, and the even more entry-level clerks called postal support employees, PSEs, that put in most of this overtime. We work instead of regular employees who earn higher wages and deeper benefits. Now, I wrote to all of the postal influencers. I sent them a document that I created last February to talk about a lot of the logical fallacies upon which decisions are being made for the post office. And I reminded them that the $4 billion in overtime was actually at least $2.5 billion in net savings. My document said in the decade from 2010 to 2019, the Postal Service manpower was reduced by 86,974 career employees through early retirement offers, natural employee attrition, and the automation of many job functions. Considering the typical wages that are currently earned by career postal employees, and acknowledging that the total cost for each is 1.25 to 1.4 times their wages earned, the net savings of reduced manpower is conservatively estimated to be $6.5 billion a year. Now, these calculations were conservative estimates based on the typical wages of a career employee, a regular career employee, and research from MIT regarding the total costs of employees. I say that my estimates were conservative because in researching the way to improve employee retention, I learned that the Office of the Inspector General had a much more dramatic calculation. In February 2020, they released a study that said, quote, management estimated the Postal Service saved about $8 billion in labor costs from fiscal year 2016 to 2019 by employing non-career employees. We reduced the workforce before that by 93,000 people, and we replaced them with machines or the low-wage, non-career employee who can just come and churn out work and at overtime isn't making the base wage that I make.
By using overtime for non-career employees, receiving minimal benefits and earning entry-level wages, over $2 billion in annual workforce expense reductions had been recorded when compared to 2010.
That's real, strategic, and purposeful uses of resources. Knowing overtime is language that doesn't mean anything until you understand what it is you're talking about. And that was one of the things that I brought up when I was communicating with everyone. I was talking about the $8 or $9 billion every year we waste in new employee turnover. And I discussed the structure, I discussed some methodology, I discussed the gaps between where they needed to be and why they can't get there by following the path that they're going. And then I showed them some other alternatives in an entire document that basically addressed fundamentally the entire structure of how the organization would work. And that is to focus on customers first, put the person closest to the customer as the key decision maker on most things, let them plan their business, get approvals to run it the way it needs to run, and then build an entire network of 660,000 employees. From the mailbox out is where the strategy needs to come. We're going to be delivering to more mailboxes. We're going to be delivering to more customers. We're going to have more reasons for them to need us to be more intimate with them. More swift with our letter mail, because those are the things that are safest and protected. If you want to compete against digital, be a day later, not 5 days later. You become useless.
A quarter. Only in Washington can someone point to losing $2 billion a quarter as a success.
Good Doctor Senator Rand has indicated his interest in ending government mail delivery to help drain the swamp. Thomas Padlan-Malm says let the employees take it from here. The view from Dr. Rand's seat as head of the Senate's committee to solve the mail delivery challenge cannot fix anything. His upbringing, nurturing, and innate sense of values led him to defend the standards for medical care within his own field of practice and give his time to give care to the desperate during COVID-19, which cannot be overlooked. His intentions cannot be misinterpreted. In this case, he just happens to be wrong, from both his stated Friedman-based economic stance and the mission designed by Franklin and the needs of his constituents, who in his heart he would not intend to harm.
While everyone's going digital, smart businesses are going back to mailboxes. I just cracked the code on marketing my gym. While everyone's burning cash on Facebook ads nobody sees, I discovered EDDM, every door direct mail. For less than $100, my flyer lands in 400 neighbors' hands. That's real impact. A hard copy ad creates 6 times the impressions of a digital ad. 6 times. That's huge. I tested this against Instagram. No contest. Direct mail wins, hands down. It works for any business. Lemonade stands, lawn care, churches, local shops, you name it. Everyone wins. Are you a high school hustler looking for summer lawn mowing customers? A political candidate wanting to reach voters? Or a church ready to invite the whole neighborhood? EDDM works for everyone. Visit the USPS EDDM website, pick your routes, and reach your neighbors. No envelopes, no stamps, just your flyer. And we're saving local post offices while getting even better results. That's a win-win. I'm starting the Save My Zip Codes brick-and-mortar post office challenge. As Bernard Baruch said, millions saw the apple fall, but only Newton asked why. The 75th Postmaster General said, we can't compete with digital. But digital can't compete with your local post office. Let's make August EDDM month and show Congress that local businesses and mail delivery make America strong. As labor, as local supervisors, postmasters, and POOMs. As marketing genius that guides that powers of L'Enfant Plaza. As businesses needing impact, especially in these times, let's redefine ourselves in the true Darwinian fashion. Adapts as labor, organized to lead what business must be by showing not just the way, but that is done. When we use EDDM, we strengthen our communities, grow local jobs, and keep American commerce thriving. But we also show what leaders miss when the structures suppress emergent strategies. In communications with the leaders, I referenced Henry Mintzberg for more details. If every individual with a need, cause, or just the capacity to do some good realized they could help themselves in a way more powerful than protest signs and picketing to make a difference, an impact, and be the powerful truth behind everything Thomas Padlan-Malm has communicated to the powers in Washington. With the campaign from August to Labor Day, Thomas imagines the power and value of every door direct mail that boosts U.S. commerce, strengthens community businesses, and expands job growth across America, that reaches powerfully to the attention of the transaction-minded executive branch, and all on Capitol Hill that matter most, the people we elected. If all stakeholders who would lose so much if the post office they visit most were boarded up, then the experienced mail professional disappears. Who's ready to go old school and get real results? Thomas Padlan-Malm, running for the presidency of the American Postal Workers Union, responds to the entreaty of the professor from Dartmouth, seeing the opportunity to redefine the relationship between labor and management. He tells every member of the American Postal Workers Union to think like you are an owner. That is because we are. As citizens, we own America's mail. As stakeholders, consider investing in an EDDM campaign in August, and within 1 month, we anticipate topside revenue without any additional workforce or expense, culminating in Labor Day. This is a call to action, recognizing that August results represent 5% of what to expect if strategically managed properly, toward fifth-year expectations. An EDDM campaign from his fellow postal workers, similar to the one Thomas Padlan-Malm ran in March 2025, will be relaunched at his 2 past Pennsylvania post offices using the windfall from his volunteer early retirement incentive, which will be paid to him in August 2025. He will discuss the benefits of employee ownership for all stakeholders and the power within that community to save the post office by joining the August EDDM campaign. I have been thinking about the Sailing Explorers program, which I believe my over 55 community might be able to host, introducing sailing to youths through my barely used sailing sloop. After setting the details with my local Boy Scout council, I could utilize EDDM to attract adult leadership, increase youth membership, and foster community interest. If a community receives this message, the first 25 to respond will multiply the response, which encourages others to follow. This is activism that benefits everyone and cannot be ignored. Help EDDM, help your business or cause in August, and set the path that restores relevance to the citizen-owned U.S. mail. Thomas emphasizes the win-win endless wins possible from this campaign and knows there is so much more possible that he cannot imagine. He encourages every stakeholder to do something good for their business or cause. A campaign with a schedule of promotions planned throughout August is scheduled across the calendar for a year, taking into account the expected powerful impact. Place orders that schedules a campaign and registers as revenue both now and in the future that indicates systematic possibilities for job growth moving forward, growing customers, expanding membership, heightening awareness, and exploding local commerce, while also sending a powerful message to the USPS that brings $1 billion in topside revenue to the Postal Service without added workforce or expense. One that says, you cannot compete with the value of a local post office. We're the stakeholders. We got this. Join Thomas Padlan-Malm. Take the Save My Zip Codes challenge. Share this video. Visit the USPS EDDM website. Let's save our post offices together.